Now, I don't think this is the only form of self-care people should focus on, but I feel like this is kind of the only self-care that's talked about. Hey beauties, welcome back to my channel. I'm Zoya Day, licensed esthetician, and this is Dee's Beauty Room, your #1 source for professional skincare advice, product knowledge, and esthetician tips. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about a new self-care series that I have coming this Sunday and give you 10 self-care tips you can incorporate into your daily life. But before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and let's get into the video. So before we get into the 10 self-care tips, I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about the self-care series that I have coming up this Sunday, February 7th. So with the start of 2021, I really wanted to focus on more self-care and not just the pampering part of self-care, but all of self-care. So if you didn't know, there are 6 different forms of self-care. The first one is emotional self-care. Now, this one is great for focusing on things that need to help you connect or get in touch with your feelings or whatever's been bothering you. So you can practice things like seeing a therapist or writing in your journal. The next form of self-care is practical self-care. Now, this is something that you can complete in your everyday life, like different tasks, whether it's cleaning up around your apartment or home, decluttering your closet or desk, or creating a budget for yourself. We also have physical self-care, and those are activities that improve your physical well-being, like taking a walk, starting a gym membership and actually going, getting a full 8 hours of sleep, making sure you're staying hydrated and drinking enough water throughout the day, having a healthy, well-balanced diet, just different things like that. We also have social self-care, and those activities focus on things that connect you socially, whether it's hanging out with friends, meeting up with family, calling your parents once a week, or also going on a date. We also have mental self-care, and these are activities that help stimulate your mental. So you can do things like reading a book, solving a puzzle, taking a class, listening to different podcasts, or even going to museums. And then we have one of my favorites, which is spiritual self-care, which is focusing on activities that help nurture your spirit, such as meditating, self-reflecting. You can also journal with this one, going to a place of worship, whatever that may mean to you, being one with nature, and dedicating a time just for you to get connected to yourself and a higher power. And every Sunday of February, we're going to be covering different self-care topics, and I'm going to show you different ways you can incorporate self-care into your daily life and daily routine for an overall better sense of life. And I think that's something a lot of us need to focus on in 2021, especially with the crazy year we just got out of. Think of this as your best friend who's giving you different tips and advice after a bad breakup. I'm going to be here to give you different tips and advice to really focus on self-care. So if it's something you would be interested in, make sure you stick around every Sunday, starting Sunday, February 7th. The first topic we're going to be going over this Sunday is going to be emotional self-care. So I'm going to give you different tips and advice of how to practice emotional self-care so you can incorporate it into your daily life. So I hope to see you there. Now let's kick the series off with 10 self-care tips you can incorporate into your everyday life for self-improvement. So let's get started. My first tip, and I think is really important into getting into your emotional self-care, and that is starting a journal. I've always kind of been the type to write my feelings out as opposed to talking to them, since I kind of struggle explaining what I'm feeling, especially if I'm upset or anything like that. It's always best for me to write out how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking to clear my head, and I definitely want to incorporate that a lot more in 2021. So our next self-care tip is going to be going out for a walk or getting out of the house in general. And I know with us still being in a pandemic and a lot of us still being quarantined, we don't see outside as much, but I definitely recommend taking some time out, whether it be an hour or even just 30 minutes, just to kind of walk around your neighborhood or a park that's in your area, just to get some vitamin D, some sunlight, and fresh air. Also, remember to practice, safe distance and all the other COVID guidelines when out in public. My next self-care tip is another one that's probably hard since being in a pandemic, and that's making sure you're getting 8 hours of sleep. Now I know this is something I definitely struggle with ever since the pandemic has started, because I feel like I'm naturally a night owl, but I kind of want to also be a morning person so I can get more things done throughout the day. So I feel like as long as I can get a good 6 to 8 hours of sleep, then I'll be fine. But I definitely think getting your sleep is super important. I'm one to never skip out on a nap if I can take one. So make sure you're getting your rest in 2021. Self-care tip number 5 is going to be practicing mindfulness. And I know it's easier said than done, but really getting a control over your thoughts and being more mindful of what you're thinking about and processing throughout the day is going to be really important in how your overall day flows. So if you're constantly thinking negative thoughts and have negative opinions about everything going around you, then it's going to be easy to feel down or get depressed and let anxiety get the best of you. So trying to focus on the positive, practicing gratitude and mindfulness to really help you be mindful of all the things that are going on in your head. Now, tip number 6 is probably my favorite, and that is going out and pampering yourself. Now, I don't think this is the only form of self-care people should focus on, but I feel like this is kind of the only self-care that's talked about. And as important as it is, taking care of yourself and taking care of the outside is fun and cool and it feels really good, but when all that's said and done, how are you feeling on the inside? And that's really why I wanted to do my self-care series for this Sunday. But taking the time to focus on yourself and pampering yourself and treating yourself is super important. And I know it was a lot harder to do in 2020 with salons and spas and stuff like that being shut down. But now that they're slowly opening up and practicing COVID guidelines, I think with proper precaution, you can definitely go and get your nails done, something like that, just to treat yourself. One thing about me is I love having my nails done, and I have not been able to be as consistent and do them as often as I want because of COVID and everything like that. So I'm definitely excited to get back into pampering myself. Self-care tip number 6 is going to go right along with practicing mindfulness, and will probably help you practice mindfulness, and that's going to be to meditate. Now, I know meditating is a lot easier said than done, but using YouTube to help you find guided meditations to help get you started meditating, whether it's 5 minutes, 15 minutes, or like 30 minutes before bedtime, is really a great way to help clear your head and calm any worry, anxiety, or nerves that you might have. Plus, I feel like it really just gives you a better outlook on life as a whole, and who doesn't need that in 2021? Tip number 7 is going to be spending time with people who are important in your life. And I feel like this, again, is a little hard because of COVID and still being in a pandemic. But if you can, even if it's like via FaceTime or just speaking to them, you know, through a screen door, just being able to see them in person, even if you can't physically see them, I think maybe a phone call, FaceTime, Skype, Zoom, whatever you're using, just to reach out and connect with people while we're still in quarantine and in a pandemic, I think is super important. And since we're not able to do our normal routine, like meet up for drinks or dinner or anything like that, it really messes with people's minds and their mental and just overall health and well-being. So I feel like just calling and checking in on family or friends so you don't have to worry about whether they're okay, what's going on with them. Extend a phone call, reach out as best as you can until we're able to go back to some normalcy, whenever that is going to be. Now, my final skincare tip we kind of talked about already with spiritual self-care, but I feel like it's really, really important, and that's going to be seeking a higher power. Now, whether it's the universe, God, or anything in between, I really feel like seeking some type of source and higher power is really important for your spiritual health and overall well-being. Just so you can keep your spirit high and nurtured, I feel like this stuff is really important, but it's best you do it on your own terms, in your own way, whatever seeking a higher power means to you, to keep your spirit and mood high. Now, for more self-care tips and advice, make sure you tune in this Sunday, February 7th, when I'll be dropping my Self-Care Sunday series. And as you know, another form of self-care is skincare. And if you are looking to build a new skincare routine, make sure you click the link in the description box to contact me to get started on your virtual skin consultations, where we'll talk about your skincare routine, we'll talk about your skin needs, recommend products, and different advice to achieve your skincare goals. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you click the link in the description box. Also, don't forget to head over to my Instagram, where I also post about my skincare consultation and other skincare advice. And if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell, and I'll see you this Sunday.